Now, the UN Human Rights Chief has said that Israel's total siege of Gaza is banned under international law. In a statement, Volker Turk said the imposition of sieges that endanger the lives of civilians by depriving them of goods essential for their survival is prohibited. Let's bring in Ardi Imseis. He's a professor of international law at Queen's University and joins us now from Ottawa. How do you frame what Israel is doing within the international law?
Well, thanks for having me. Look, regardless of who is responsible for the commencement of hostilities, international humanitarian law will always apply with the aim of ameliorating the impact of those hostilities on the civilian population. There are three core principles of that law: that attacking forces must distinguish between civilians and civilian objects and military objectives, that their attacks must be proportionate to a legitimate military aim being sought, and those attacks themselves must also be mitigated by taking all feasible precautions in attack to ensure that civilians are not harmed. Now, based on the information that is being widely shared globally, it is very clear to me that the attacks on Gaza at this point violate these principles, including in a manner that engage the individual criminal responsibility of those ordering and participating in them. I'm particularly concerned with the starvation as a means of warfare and collective punishment. Your viewers will know that just yesterday, the Israeli Minister of Defense, Yoav Gallant, openly declared that he has personally ordered the, quote, complete siege on Gaza. No electricity, no food, no water, no fuel. And he then called the Gazan population human animals. So if he's saying this and he's sitting in the high command, just imagine what the airmen who are now bombing Gaza have been ordered to do. I think the images on your screen demonstrate very clearly what they have been ordered to do. Only time will tell how bad it's going to get, but I fear the worst is ahead of us.
So if Israel is so clearly violating international law, why is it receiving such blanket immunity from so much of the West?
This is a political issue all around. The Western states have effectively granted Israel carte blanche for a period of time, which is not out of the ordinary. Typically, when these flare-ups take place, in particular, the United States gives Israel diplomatic cover, delaying things at the United Nations in the Security Council for a period of time to allow the Israelis to achieve their goals. In this case, their goals, I think, by virtue of the scale of the Hamas operations 3 or 4 days ago, that scale of it and the desire for a revenge on the part of the Israeli side, which is openly declared by the part of the Prime Minister and so on, I think the Western states, the United States and others, will grant Israel a little bit of extra time I hate to use the term, but to soften up the ground through bombardment before they enter with their infantry. As I say, in my lifetime, I've not seen anything like this. I fear something on the order of 1982, West Beirut, and all of that. It's not going to look good at all for the people of Gaza.
What about the Hamas attack on innocent Israeli civilians in the early hours of Saturday morning? Where does that sit in terms of international law?
Yes, no doubt. Based on the information coming out of southern Israel and the attacks, that some of which were filmed, there's no doubt that war crimes were committed by the Palestinian forces and paramilitaries that entered Israel. Civilians being massacred at that outdoor party. All of that must be investigated. The long and the short of it is this. No matter who is responsible in a situation of armed hostilities, all sides must, at the very least, abide by their obligations to distinguish between civilians and combatants. And it is clear that what we have here are civilians being caught up in a war that would not exist, quite frankly, but for the continued foreign military occupation of Palestine, now going on 56 years. The international community has the onus on it to end this occupation and end it immediately and unconditionally, forthwith, in order to save all civilians on both sides of the Green Line, their lives, their future, and so on.
Ardi, Imseis, it's very good to hear your thoughts. Thank you very much for taking the time to speak to us here on Al Jazeera. I'm just